Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a nod. That's good. I can only see one screen of people because there's a couple of screens of people, so I can only see one screen. So I'll talk to this screen, so I don't know who's on the other screen. I see a few names there that look familiar from my dealings with committees over the time I've been working for ARQRV. So as we said earlier, if you want to ask a question throughout the webinar, see if you can, rather than try to wave at us, if you can, use the reaction which is somewhere on your screen, at the bottom of the screen or somewhere. Have a look while I'm talking and use the raise hand function. And once you've raised your hand, someone will see it. You can ask the question, then you can lower your hand by the same function. So see how you go. I want you to be very, very gentle on me and Judy today. One, Judy's just about lost her voice. And two, this is the first webinar we've done. So we've done some Zoom hookups, but we haven't done one. I'm not sure how many people are here, but maybe not. We haven't done one as big as this. Who sent the reactions with the nice? Someone sent some nice reactions. Thank you for that. Okay. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Now, two topics today. We're going to talk about secret ballots, and then we're going to talk about special resolutions. I don't think secret ballots are any so-called secrets. That's the joke for the day, right? You're only going to get one, secret ballots. So you've probably all got a good idea what a secret ballot is, but I'll tell you anyway, it's a ballot where other people don't know how a particular person voted. You'll know the result, but you won't know how it got there. Having said that, though, one of the important things I think with a secret ballot, I've heard in some instances where villages have conducted a secret ballot, but they didn't actually announce the numbers, you know, like so many for and so many against the motion, or those sort of things. I think that's a very important thing. There's no reason to keep that secret. It's really only keeping the actual vote itself secret. It's just like what we do at the elections. We vote, have a secret vote at the elections, but we all know the result, and we also know the exact numbers of everything. So I think couldn't hurt to have it, but it doesn't matter if it's not done either. I've heard where people keep that secret too, but I don't think it should be secret. Okay, so the other thing that's very important is there's absolutely no legal requirement for any particular vote to be secret. There's nothing in the law that requires a secret ballot. It merely comes about because of, I think, about four things that might require a secret, how it gets determined to be a secret ballot. For example, it might be in your residence constitution that a particular type of vote might be a secret ballot. I know for a fact that the model constitution that we published has that an election for the residence committee should be done by a secret ballot. Other reasons it might be a reason for a secret ballot is that it's a contentious matter, and the procedures have been it's been adopted as a secret ballot. Another reason is it might be called by the meeting. So there might be a motion put at a meeting, and residents have asked, called by the meeting, to be a secret ballot. So at the spur of the moment, it's called as a secret ballot, and that's no big deal either. You can conduct it as a secret ballot at the meeting. And the other one was you might have I'm not sure if I've covered this one already. I just forgot the plot. Your constitution may have a list of things that by a secret ballot. So there's really four things that require a secret ballot, but there's no law that requires it. Okay. Any questions so far? No hands have gone up. No? You're all pretty happy so far? Yep. Oh. I see your hand going up there, Laurie. Laurie, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself, Rand DP.
Hi, it's Pam. Sorry, I just missed the first reason that you said that you might call for it.
Oh, well, I can't remember the order.
Oh, okay.
There was four things. There was four things I said.
Yep. called by the committee a contentious issue,
a contentious matter.
Yeah.
And when it's being organised, when the vote's being organised, the residents committee might decide to do it by a secret ballot.
And maybe in your constitution.
It might be in the constitution. It might be requested by residents at a meeting, or called at the meeting itself that they want to have it by secret ballot.
Okay. All right, that's the one. Thank you.
I know. Okay, but there's no law that requires it. Don't forget to make yourself mute. Thanks, Laurie. Now the procedures for a secret ballot. So as I said, we'll do the at the meeting first, the procedures for that. Every meeting, the secretary of a residence committee probably should have on hand just pieces of paper that you could use if a vote is called to be a secret ballot at the meeting. Just have bits of paper. What's the word? You don't need anything flash, just need small pieces of paper where people can write yes or no on it. But the most important thing is if there's a last minute secret ballot called by the meeting, the chairperson's got to give good instructions on how it's meant to happen at the meeting, and also to really clarify what the motion is, as you normally do anyway. They read out the motion and how the vote's going to go. It's the most important thing is for the chair to organise it properly at the meeting. I've never heard of one taken place. Has anyone had one? Put your hand up. Just don't raise your hand, but just give me a wave. Has anyone done a secret ballot at a meeting? Oh, you've done one, yeah, righto. So it does happen. The thing to note is you've got to make sure that the ballot papers are only issued to people that are entitled to vote, because in some villages you'll only have one resident per unit voting. So you've only got to make sure that that's monitored. You've got to make sure that the entitled people do have a ballot piece of paper to vote on, and you obviously need some pens to go with it. They should be on hand before every meeting. What else is there? You need to have an organised who's going to count them. The thing to note is if there's a ballot taken in this manner at a meeting, you'll need to have someone that's going to count them, some reliable person, especially if you have a JP on hand, one of your residents if they're a JP or another reliable person, and obviously not a person that's involved in the motion itself that could count the votes. In normal circumstances, depending on the numbers, you can just have a pause in the meeting to count the numbers of the votes, or the chairperson could adjourn it for 15 minutes or something, so the vote could be counted and the result given back to the chair. Then they can reconvene the meeting. What else is there? I think that's about it. But the biggest thing is making sure that only people that are entitled to vote get a piece of paper to vote on. And in general terms, you'd only vote yes or no in favour of the motion or against the motion at the meeting. Are there any questions about that? All pretty clear, that one. That's nice, easy.
Ray, now, can I just, sorry, I didn't hear
you. You can add to it. You're back, Judy. Well done, Judy.
Sorry, I didn't hear your beginning. Did you talk about why, when you can have a special resolution?
I haven't talked about special resolutions at all, Judy. I'm talking about secret ballots.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. It's all right. We'll get there. We're doing the easy one first. We're doing the nice, simple one first. Now, another thing that you can do is have a secret ballot before a meeting. In other words, have it as a postal vote. That's probably the most common one that residents organise to have a postal vote. And as you know, there's something in the Act about postal votes. Are you aware of that? It's section 133. Talks about, where are we? It says a resident of a retirement village may cast a postal vote for a residents' meeting by placing the residents' written vote in a container provided by the scheme operator for the purpose in the common area of the village at least 24 hours before the time when the meeting is to be held. And then it says the scheme operator must provide a secure locked container for postal votes in the common area at least 24 hours before the time the meeting is to be held. I don't know why they said that twice, but anyway. It says the scheme operator must not allow or allow to be opened the container before it is delivered to the chairperson of the meeting. And then it says the scheme operator must deliver the container to the chairperson of the meeting immediately before the chairperson opens the meeting. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But if you're going to have a postal vote, that's obviously going to be a secret ballot. So if there's going to be a postal vote, you need to have procedures in place so it can remain secret, and at the same time you've got to monitor who's voting. So in some villages they might have election officials that sit at the ballot box at certain times of the day. Obviously this all goes out in the notice so people know when the box is available and when they can vote. They can do it. You can do it by having, as I said, the electoral officers sitting at the box. I prefer to see 2 people sitting at the box. That way there's less opportunity for improper action. They will need a roll of all the electors of the people in the village. In other words, you'll have all the units listed, wonder how many you've got, and then as people come in, you'd have the list of their names beside the unit number, and then whoever's going to vote, whether it's 1 vote per unit or there's 2 a vote each, they sign beside their name, and you know they voted, and there's no no argument about who's voted and who hasn't voted over time. So they vote, they sign beside it, and then they place their ballot, completed ballot paper in the sealed box. In that regard, also too, if a person's got a proxy, has been given a proxy, they take the proxy with them, and they'll get a vote for their own unit, and then they'll get a vote for the proxy, and they'll sign beside the unit number that they've got the proxy for, and that'll also be recorded on the electoral roll. Does that sound a bit too complicated? No? Give me some nods. No, it's not too bad. The other way you can do it, if the box is unattended, you're going to need a procedure so they can be popped into the box where the box is, no one's there to monitor it. You'll need to have envelopes so people can put their vote into the envelope. Now, it gets quite complicated here because you know that people at normal government elections, they do absent votes and they send the votes in an envelope, right? So there's some name or identifier on the envelope, but there's nothing on the ballot paper. You can do it by 1 envelope, or in some cases, if people are obsessive, you'll have to do it by 2 envelopes. If you do it by 1 envelope and everyone's happy with that, the people that are going to open up the envelopes with the ballot paper inside, they've just got to be trusted type people, or you could get your scheme op or your manager to do it, or some independent person if you can, to keep residents happy. That way, when they pop it in, they put their villa number and just their name and sign it on the front of the envelope and pop their completed ballot paper inside. Then later on, they're opened up, and then they're all just counted later on. If residents insist and you've got a problem, you might need to go down the route of 2 envelopes where they write their name and address on the outside, the villa number on the outside of the outside one, and they put an unidentifiable envelope inside with their completed ballot paper inside. To me, that's a bit obsessive, but in some cases it might be required. I've got a textbook here. I don't know whether you heard of him. There's a guy called N.E. That's a bit out of focus. How come that's not focused? No, anyway, by N.E. Renton, and he suggests the 2 envelopes route. So, but I think that's a bit over the top. So, any questions about how you do it as a postal vote? If you do it,
what if you have a postal vote, Ray? What's to stop people photocopying the ballot paper and putting more than 1 ballot paper in?
Okay, so what you do, as I said earlier, you have an electoral person, a person sitting at the ballot box monitoring what votes go into the box, just like at our government elections. So if someone turns up and they've got a sign beside the unit number, it's just like our village duty. That's exactly what we do. We turn up at the ballot box. And you say, what unit are you from? And you're from Villa 130. Your name's there and you sign beside it. So if someone turned up again, they'd have to say they're from another, and most people know each other, they'd have to lie who they're from. It's like any election duty. If you turn up at a voting booth, you could say I'm Judy Mayfield and vote under your name, because all they do is, have you voted today at another booth? Have you already? So it's just it's basically a trust thing. There's no real answer to that. If they photocopied more of them, they've still got to put the names and addresses or names and the villa number on the envelope as they pop it in the box. Again, there's really no answer to that if people are going to be that dishonest. You're right though, they can do it, but there is some level of monitoring it by putting a villa number and a name on the envelope, and then someone's got to sign it. And if there was anything untoward identified later on, there could be some sort of well, you know, witch hunt down the track to see if that person did sign, but it's unlikely. Okay, you happy with that, Judy?
Yep.
Yep, you're not sure. Okay.
No, I'm fine. I just thought that's often a question I get asked.
Yeah, people. Well, a lot of it's trust. It's even like our elections. When you go and they don't ask for ID, do they? Even when we vote at the government elections, do they? They don't ask for ID, do they?
Yeah, they give you a voting card these days, Ray, don't they?
Yeah, but if you don't have it, they don't. I don't know what they do then.
If you haven't got it, yeah.
If push comes to shove, and if there's people that dishonest, you might have to ask for ID. But it's a bit unreasonable in a retirement village, because at the end of the day, what are you voting for? I mean, you're not going to change the world by a vote at a residents' meeting. Now, there's one thing I said earlier on about what's in the Act. It says the scheme operator can't give the ballot box to the chairperson until immediately before the meeting. Now, if you've got a ballot box full of papers, how on earth is anyone going to count that before the meeting? And the word immediately, what does the word immediately before the meeting mean? In our village, we've interpreted that the box is given to the chairperson immediately, which means a couple of hours before the meeting, so that people can count the votes. And that's actually written in the Residence Committee manual. I mean, we push the envelope there. It's not, what does immediately mean? Immediately to means it's got to be practical so we can count the votes. So the box is handed over to the chairperson gives them to the voting officials, and they count the votes, and you should have a tally sheet. They fill out the tally sheet, they all sign it, you know, the people that counted the votes, and then hand it over to the chairperson ready to be announced at the meeting. Okay, you happy with that? These procedures should be all documented for your village. Whether the important parts are included in your constitution, the bigger part, like the overall parts, and the finer detail could be kept in procedures kept by the residence committee. Because if every time there's a change of a residence committee, the poor residence committee has got no idea what the procedures are and how to run a certain thing. So it's best if the overall stuff's in the constitution, and then the finer procedures are just kept as a separate document somewhere, so they know how to run a postal vote and a secret ballot and that's all that sort of stuff. I know one village has some really fantastic procedures documented. I can see Judy smiling there. Wave your hand, Peter. You and Judy did them some years ago, I'm sure, in our village, because Peter and Judy are from the same village as me. So we've got procedures, everything's documented, and that way there's no arguments or disputes how anything's going to run. So you should have everything documented. I think that's all I want to say about postal votes, and not postal votes, secret ballots at the moment. So is any question for anybody? No, you all happy? Anyone confused? You're very quiet. Give me some nods. You're happy? Yeah. I see Glenda. She's nodded. What's that? Some of these names, they don't have full names. Oh, I see Margaret there. Hello, Margaret. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into special resolutions. Okay. The old chestnut. There's so many confusions about special resolutions. Firstly, what is a special resolution? I'm not sure if you're all aware, but there is a definition of a special resolution in the Retirement Villages Act. It's in the schedule at the back where the definitions are kept. I'll read it out in length here. What is a special resolution? It says a special resolution at a residents' meeting means a resolution passed at the meeting of which the residents are given at least 21 days written notice stating the intention to propose the resolution as a special resolution, and by at least 3/4 of the persons entitled to vote who vote, personally or by proxy at the meeting or by postal vote. So you can see how it all goes together. So at the end of the day, I'll go back to that. I'll go back to that. So we've got a definition of what a special resolution is. Is any questions about what it really is, a special resolution? No? Okay. The Act requires special resolutions in certain instances, okay? And there is a finite list where the law requires it. And I'll read them out. A lot of them you probably never heard of because you've never needed them. But in Section 40D, the approval of a closure plan, it's unlikely that people in this group will hear about a closure plan, because if that's the case, your village is closing and you don't want to hear about that. Section 90B, this is a good one. Residents jointly responsible for capital improvements requested at residents' meetings. We're going to have a special, webinar about that one altogether, because residents and committees always get confused about capital improvement and how the special resolutions, the procedures for that, and the stuff that surrounds the getting to capital improvement. There is an article on our website about that, and it's quite lengthy because it's complicated. Section 99, subsection 2, this is where residents can agree to part of the MRF budget that is inconsistent with the quantities of phase report. We've had that in our village a couple of years ago. The residents decided we didn't want our roofs cleaned at the time, roofs painted at the time, because it's very expensive. So we put it off by a special resolution. That's what it's meant for, where there's something, the residents are given an opportunity to say yes or no and decide against the quantities of phase report. And of course, the one that we all know about, Section 106, subsection 3, where the general services charges, the total of the general service charges has increased more than the increase in CPI, where residents need to have a special resolution vote whether to agree or disagree with the increase. Section 108, where there's a new general service offered, the residents can agree to allow it to come in or not. Section 110, this one won't be relevant. It's about the excess of an insurance policy more than what's in the regulation. So that's not relevant because there's no excess mentioned in the regulation. So that's not even relevant at the moment. Section 113F, approval of a redevelopment plan. I'm sure there's a few villages under redevelopment. Section 127(2)B is where the residents can vote by special resolution to remove a member of the residents committee. I've never heard of it. Everybody wants to, but no one's ever done it. Would that be a fair comment, Judy?
Yeah, I think, people get angry with their residents committee,
but they never go.
They want someone to go, but then you've got to call a special resolution meeting.
Yeah, you got to have a special resolution. Yeah,
and you can't get rid of the whole committee by one vote.
One at a time.
You've got to, if you want to dissolve your whole committee, you have to vote by special resolution every one of the committee off. Most residents can't be bothered when they hear that then.
It's just, the other thing is changing or revoking bylaws by residents. If you guys want to make your own rules about what's going on in the village to some degree, you can make a bylaw or revoke or change a bylaw by a special resolution.
But you can't change a rule.
No, it's not a rule by the scheme operator.
Yeah, a rule is something the scheme operator does. Yeah. So the scheme operator will have a rule about behaviour or, something. Dogs in villages. If your scheme operator says you can have pets in villages, residents can't decide that they don't want pets in villages and try and do a bylaw. You can't do that. The scheme operator's rule has said pets in villages. So there's a rule which the operators make and bylaws that residents can make. But Ray, doesn't the scheme operator have to agree to the bylaw anyway?
No, they don't have to. They can't unreasonably withhold their consent.
Right.
Yeah. Now, there could be, for example, a bylaw might be the fact that the pool of a village is open 24/7. This sound familiar, Judy? Our pool in our village is open 24/7. But we passed we passed a so-called bylaw. We never did a special resolution, but we should have. That to say that the kids can't be in the pool before 10 o'clock. That gives opportunity for residents to get in the pool without being annoyed by kids. So that should have been a special resolution, and it's a subject of a bylaw. But that's the sort of thing you'd make a bylaw about, where residents have decided the use of the common property, not the common property, the communal area in some way. Okay. There's another one too. A special resolution is required if residents of a village want to change their voting entitlement, because the voting entitlement by default is 1 vote per unit, but residents can decide to have a special resolution and give it 1 vote per person. And that's about the only times that, well, there's a few, there's about a dozen there, times where a special resolution is required by law. In some instances, residents of a particular village have included in their constitution to have the amendment only done by a special resolution. If that's the case, well, so be it. You've got to have a special resolution to amend your constitution. I can't see any other reason why you'd need it. Sometimes a contentious matter might be brought up by the scheme operator, and they might want to call a particular vote as a special resolution because it's so contentious. There's nothing to prevent that to happen. So if someone proposes or a motion is put forward as a special resolution and it's seconded, it's a special resolution vote. Okay? Does that make sense?
Can I just say something? So if you, as Ray was saying, you've got to give 21 days notice.
If a motion is proposed to be a special resolution, you've got to give 21 days notice. I was going to go through all the procedures that in a minute, about right now. So in our Residents Committee Manual in Part 15, there's a whole numerous pages on special resolutions, and it goes, or actually 3 pages, 3 full pages about the how to run a special resolution. Let me have a look here. Here we go. The procedures. The notice must be in writing for a start. The notice must be given to every resident, and of course, as reasonably practical. For example, if a person's away, you can't give them a notice, so they can't really vote if they're on a cruise or something. The Act actually says it's got to be given to every person, but if it's popped in the letterbox, that's as good as given, isn't it? So a notice has got to go to every person. The notice must be given 21 days or more before the vote is to be taken, and that's including the date of the meeting. The notice must propose the resolution as a special resolution. So in other words, it's got to actually say somewhere on the notice that the motion is for a special resolution.
Ray Ann Gore is asking a question.
Hang on. Okay, remind me where I'm up to. Okay, I'll put my finger on it. Whose question?
Anne, you'll have to unmute.
Thank you.
Anne. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Sorry, just to take you back a tiny bit. When you're talking about a special resolution for things like allowing more than one vote per unit,
yeah,
that's a special resolution, and that's for a particular another special resolution that's coming up. Like we're going to have a special resolution on a redevelopment, for example, and residents want to be able to vote one vote per person. So you need a special resolution for the 1 vote per person to be applied. But once you've put that in place, does it apply only to the redevelopment or it stays there? Oh, okay.
It'll stay there until it's changed by a special resolution again.
Okay.
So if residents want to have a 1 vote per person, they'll have to change it by special resolution, and then they vote on the redevelopment.
And on anything. Yeah.
Having said that, though, I think voting entitlements is another webinar. If you want to book into the webinar about voting entitlements in a couple of weeks' time,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that then. It's a two-way street, the voting entitlements. So you've got to be mindful of what they want.
Okay.
You've got to be careful what you wish for.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Thank you.
It's Ray.
All right.
Okay, so what have we got here?
Pam, did you have a question? You'll need to unmute.
Hi, I was just wondering, I'm kind of new to the residents committee, but is there a particular file that all the special resolutions are saved in, or bylaws? Because I haven't seen anything here.
Okay, right. Thanks, Pam. Good question. Every village should have a register of important decisions.
Okay. Is
Is
that what it's called?
Beg your pardon, sorry?
Is that what it would be called, a register of important decisions?
I'd call it that, yeah, I would.
Okay.
I know that the ARQRV committee has a register of important decisions that are put in place, haven't we, Judy?
Mm-hmm.
And that way they're all recorded, the decision's recorded, and the exactly wording of the motion, and then what date of the meeting, and you could look back at the minutes. I know there's a lot of history that's been lost in all the villages. I mean, I've not come across a village. I don't know whether has Beachmere Sands. This is Peter Smythe. I'm asking, has Beachmere Sands got a list of important decisions? No.
We have changed our constitution. However, I'm on our constitution rewrite the constitution working party in the village, and we're changing it so that important decisions, special resolutions, when they are taken, they are going to record that they were taken and whether they were lost or won.
Yeah.
They're not just going to keep the ones that were won. So that we've got a record if there've been many that have been taken over a time and they've been lost for 3 or 4 times. Why bother for the new committee to try and do it again?
You can still raise it.
Well, they can still raise it, but that's going to be in our constitution. Yeah. And it will be a clause in the constitution that we want, that we'll have a list of resolutions that important decisions will be noted.
Yes. So every village should have a register of important decisions.
Yeah. There's a question from Russ Furness. You'll need to unmute, Russ, to ask is it Russ Fern? No?
Burnburn.
Sorry.
Hello, it's Bob Thompson. I've got the question for Ray with regard to the special resolutions for making a change to an MRF action, such as painting the village, which is due under the QA quality surveyors reports. I was wondering if a special resolution was positive against the action, do the operator have to take note of that, or can they still go ahead and do it anyway?
I think we'll answer that question in private, Bob.
Okay, right.
I think it'll take us too long to answer that. I'll have to start reading closely about what the exact wording of what it says. I think, anyway, we'll come back to that. I'll talk to you at the end, Bob.
Okay, mate.
All right, keep that question. I see there's some other questions there. There was some old questions there about the secret ballot that I've only just noticed there. I don't know whether we've actually covered them, but we could ask those people to stay behind. So we were talking about the procedure.
Oh, sorry, I found it. Somebody has written in the chat. What about putting it on coloured paper? I think they're talking about making.
That was a secret ballot, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, you could have coloured paper. Yeah. Okay. getting back to the procedures for this, the special resolution, the last thing I said was the notice must actually say this motion is proposed as a special resolution. Those words must appear on it. And obviously the notice should state the full wording of the resolution. And you know that a resolution always starts with the word that. And this is not really a requirement, but it'd be prudent to do so. There should be, like in our own, when we have our own votes for our own, changing our own constitution for Australia, they always have a explanatory note for and against the motion. So you should have an unbiased explanatory memorandums at some stage given to the residents, you know, the for and against arguments. So it can be, what's the word? Well, explained for the residents so they can see through it, okay? You shouldn't, residents committees shouldn't have a position on a particular motion. They should be unbiased. They should just put it to the residents and let them decide, okay? Even if it's a good thing, they still got to just be seen to be unbiased.
Well, the other thing is you can't give them the resolution, the motion, 21 days before and get to the meeting and change the motion.
Okay. Yeah, you can't vote on a changed motion. If a motion's amended at the meeting, you've got to go and give them another 21 days notice. Yeah, thanks for that point, Judy. And go through the whole process again. Let me have a look at my notes here. I know that Peter Smythe doesn't agree with me here, but it's not a good thing to have in your constitution that you can only amend your constitution by special resolution, because if that's the case, trying to amend the constitution for a good thing is quite hard to get across the line. As you know, special resolutions are quite, you know, they're quite hard to get 75% to people to agree to a thing, even if it's a good thing. As you know, people vote no for a myriad of reasons. Most of the time, they just vote no because they don't like change. Some of the time, they vote because they don't like the person that proposed it. It's very personal, and it's got nothing to do with the content of the motion, or they can't be bothered to vote for it. They just vote no as just being bloody-minded. So there's many reasons why it's not a great idea to have a special resolution to change your constitution. Having said that, though, it's a good idea to have slightly higher than a simple majority. The textbook that I've got here beside me, Annie Renton, suggests that a 60% majority is a good number to change the constitution of a group. Okay, now, getting back to the calculation, I know that there was a village a couple of weeks ago had a special resolution vote because they had to change the constitution, and at the meeting when they did the count, they got confused, and somehow they included the abstainers in the no vote. Any vote, when you work out the result, only valid votes are counted. If there's an abstainer or an invalid vote, they're completely taken out of the calculation. They've got nothing to do whatsoever with the majority or a 75% majority. They're taken out of the calculation. In the back of the Residents Committee manual, there's actually a calculation sheet you can use, and once that village used that, they could quite clearly see that the vote got across the line, but at the meeting it was announced that the vote failed. So then they had to go back because the vote was valid, but the count was just confused. So they had to go back to the residents and say the vote actually passed, which was a bit awkward for all the residents that thought they'd won with the no vote. Okay, so use the calculation sheet. The most important thing is it says at least 75%. It doesn't have to be more than 75%. It has to be at least 75%.
But it's 75% of those who vote.
Yes, it's
not 75% of the whole village.
It's only of those who vote. Having said that, though, if your constitution has a quorum and your quorum's reached, again, it's still only 75% of those who are entitled to vote. on the same note, the legislation doesn't say that you need a quorum to vote on a special resolution under the Act. It just says of those who vote, because as a village, the population of a village ages, there's less and less interest in what's going on. So, but if your constitution's got a quorum, the quorum must be reached to have a valid meeting, and then it's 75% of those who vote who are entitled to vote. Is that clear? Give me some nods. Got some nods there. I can see. Oh, thanks, John. You're a good man, John. Okay, John in the bright green shirt. I can see, John, in your background. You've got a lovely tropical scene there. Are you in the path of the cyclone? Because it doesn't look like that here. Okay.
I don't think that's clear.
There's a question there. Was there a question? Bevan, unmute the mic, Bevan.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that was clear, that last point you made.
I can't remember what I made. What did I make? What was the point I made, Bevan? I've forgotten already.
Who is allowed to vote and the quorums and numbers?
Oh, okay. If a village doesn't have a constitution that specifies a quorum, there's no such thing as a quorum at the meeting. If you don't have a constitution. So if you don't have a constitution in a village, it's just whoever turns up, and those who are entitled to vote is 75% of those who vote. Okay? But if your constitution does specify a quorum, and residents are happy to have a quorum, the quorum's got to be reached before the meeting can start, and then it's still 75% of those who vote. But if you've got no quorum in a constitution, you don't need to have any particular number to vote. It's 75% of those who vote. You still look a bit vague. Are you right then, Bevan? Talk to me, Bevan. You happy?
You're on mute.
Yeah, that's okay. Thanks.
Okay, so does your village have a constitution?
Yes, we've got a constitution.
Does it specify a quorum?
Haven't looked it up.
Okay, that's okay. Okay. But if it doesn't, yeah.
Sorry.
If you specify a quorum, it should be reached before the meeting's properly convened. But anyway, I could argue against that, but we won't go into that today. Yeah. I see Jeff Harvey has a question.
Yes, the question of the 75%. You've said it's only of the valid votes earlier, but so invalid votes don't count as people voting.
No.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So if just for example, Jeff, there's 100 votes, or I should say no, there's 100 pieces of paper, ballot papers put in the box. Okay. So as 100 go in, and then when the box is open, they pull the 100 out, and then they look at them, and they look at some. They've got and it was meant to be a secret ballot. And someone's written their name on it, or they've written a nasty word on it, or something like that, or they didn't complete the ballot paper correctly. Those things would be invalid. Okay. Well, no, not if they wrote something untoward on it. Only if it was only if it identifies the voter and it was a secret ballot. Those things would be put aside. So if they didn't do the paper right, it's invalid, or they've written their name on it and it's a secret ballot, it's invalid. That's a secret ballot. The vote's the vote's not counted. A vote is actually there's a difference between a vote being cast and a vote being counted. Okay, so you only count the ones that are actually good votes. Yeah. Okay. And the others are just completely taken out of the numbers altogether. So if you've got 25 that are actually invalid, and then you've left with 75. So then there's got to be 75% of 75 have to get across the line. Okay. Not of the 100. Yeah. Never count the abstainers and never count the invalid votes. Happy with that?
yes, thank you.
Okay, good, Jeff. Thank you. Any other questions?
Not that I can see.
Not that you can see. We're all pretty happy.
Mhm.
So if you've got no other questions, so I just want Bob Thompson to stay behind, and I'm just going to go and advertise the other webinars at the moment. Hang on, I'm just looking up what the other webinars are.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I apologise, Ray. Deborah Ware, there's a question.
Deborah Ware. Okay. Deborah,
Yep.
Hi, Ray. Yeah, I'm a little interested in the question that Bob had as well. So.
Oh, the calculation.
No, in regards to the residents committee not agreeing with what's in the MRF and whether or not they.
Oh, that
have
one. That one. You
right
hang
to
around.
push out.
You hang around at the end too. You hang around at the end too.
Can I say something though to Deborah, and I'm not sure what Bob said. It really doesn't matter what the residents committee think. The residents have got no rights to make decisions of that sort. That is a residents' decision, and I just need to you know, just make sure people understand that. As a residents' committee, you have no authority to make decisions about anything major within the village. You can make decisions about how your committee functions. You can make, you know, decisions about. That's probably the only thing you can make a decision about is how your committee functions. Any other decision that is made, which includes, you know, and affects all residents, is always a vote of all residents. So the committee just can't make a decision and go back and tell the scheme operator, we don't agree with this. It's got to be discussed by all residents and a vote taken of all residents before you can truly represent the residents in your village. And I'm just saying that because I've come across quite a number of residents' committees who think that they have the authority to do what they believe is right for their village without any consultation at all to residents. You have no authority unless the authority is granted to you by residents.
Okay, so that's all going to be covered on the 8th of April. That was what I was just going to advertise. So the next series of webinars is going to be Tuesday, the 8th of April, functions of a residents committee, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. Also, committee meetings and committee minutes of committee meetings. Then after that, on the 13th of May, residents voting entitlements. That was for I can't remember. Was that Anne Gore? She wanted to talk about voting entitlements. And then basically voting by residents. And then on the 10th of June, bylaws and residents proposing capital improvements to communal facilities. So they're the other topics in this series. I think there are a lot of questions raised about that.
Ray, if you'd just like to check the chat, there's been a comment or a question put into the chat.
It says, the question says, we have management wanting to install solar panels. It was not suggested by residents. They still want a special resolution to increase service fees. Would like further information on what our stance should be. I have no idea, Glenda, in that short amount of time to think about it.
Well, I think that the residents, can I answer that? The management are wanting to install solar panels.
Sounds pretty good to me.
And they're just putting it to you. Do you want to pay for them? That's all.
So it says just for fees. So the management's going to pay for the installation, right? Is that what you're saying? Give me a nod.
Yes. Yeah.
The management's paying for the installation, and that's for the common electricity. Yeah. No. What? Unmute, Glenda.
You need to unmute.
Unmute,
she's not muted.
It looks like I've taken it off.
Okay.
Yes, they want to install it, but they want us to pay for it. And we don't think we should have to have a special resolution because we didn't suggest the installation. They want to do it. And it's for the common areas.
They want you to pay for the installation?
No.
Yes.
Yes, they want you to pay for the installation.
No, that's not what you're saying. You're saying they want a special resolution to increase service fees.
To pay for the installation. So they want us to pay for the installation through
yeah, that's got nothing to do with today. That's actually going to, well, it's not proposed.
You're going to do a future one on that?
Yeah, well, no, not them wanting to do it. It's normally the other way around. Normally residents want something and then they pay for it, not the other way around.
Okay, all right. We might have to think about that more.
Glenda, you might just write us an email.
Yeah, I'll talk to you separately about that, Glenda. I'll talk to you separately.
Okay.
And I'll talk
Thank
to
you.
Bob
I won't hold the meeting up.
No. I'm finished anyway. So as I said, we're going to be talking about those other topics in the future. So if you want to register for those, you're welcome.
Bevan, did you have a question?
I was wondering two things. Could you run through the list of what you're going to discuss in the next meetings, or email it, or send us something about it? And then the management pays. Most of the time, management pays means that's the funds that we've paid in, and ourselves, out of the percentage when we come and go. So it's our money that is being used to do really in the background. It's not coming out of the owner's pocket usually. It's coming out of that fund that is set up for capital gains and things. So it's really it's surprising that we seem to have so little say on it, or that the owner often claims that it's his money he's spending, where in fact it's really his money we've made.
No, Bevan, I think if you that's not what meeting is about, but go onto our website and read the village financial document. It is being updated because of the new legislation, but it will explain to you in great detail the three funds that are in a village. So the capital replacement fund, which has got absolutely nothing to do with residents, the maintenance reserve fund, and the general service charges fund. So read on our website the village financial document.
I've read them all thoroughly, and in fact, it says that the maintenance fund isn't coming out of the owner's pocket.
No,
it's coming out of money that we put in, which they rarely admit.
Well,
we'll talk to Glenda separately. We're getting off the track. Yeah. No one else wants to hear this. So I've got nothing else to say. If there's any other questions or anybody wants to stay behind to ask any questions about today's topic. I'm
going to do a bit of a promotion, Ray.
Okay.
If you are not a member of the residents committee or the support desk, the support desk is a membership, special membership for residents committees. The support desk meets quarterly. We always meet with the Department of Housing. Officers always attend that, and the solicitor always attends that. And you can ask the department any questions, and the solicitor will always give you a legal overview, but never legal advice. So if you're not a member of the support desk, contact Laurie in the office. That's at our membership number, and Laurie will give you information. The cost of joining our support desk varies on the number of units you have in your village. But we had, again, last Zoom meeting, we had over 60 residents members joining us from, villages all over the state. So if you're not a member, please think about doing that. Okay, I'm finished now.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, except for the people that want to just stay behind, I will say goodbye. And might see you on the 8th. Oh, hang on. Someone asked what the other ones were. They wanted me to just repeat what the other ones were. So next one on the 8th of April is functions of residence committees and the committee meetings and committee meeting minutes. That's an important thing. That's probably the biggest one. Then we're going to talk about in the 13th of May, residents voting entitlements and voting by residents. And then on the 10th of June, bylaws and residents proposing capital improvements to communal facilities. That's different to what Glenda asked. Okay.
Yes. So what we will do is when we will send you a link to the recording of this meeting. With the link to the recording, we will also send you an invitation and send you a list of the other webinars And you will have to, again, RSVP to Laurie if you're interested in joining those, and then she will send the link out. But you will get information about the next ones, and also on how you can access the recording of this meeting. Laurie, did you want to say anything before we wrap up?
Sorry, I was just going to follow up from that. So a lot of the villages and people that have attended today have already RSVP'd to multiple meetings from the invite that was sent to everybody at 6 weeks ago. But I will be sending a reminder about 2 weeks before the meeting, just to remind everybody that that still will be taking place.
Okay, thanks, Laurie.
Okay.
Peter, did you want to say anything about connecting, or no, you're fine? Okay. And if you haven't met Jody, who's very quiet in the corner, you know I can't stop talking. Jody is our executive director. So Jody has just joined us. You can see, Jody, can you just wave? Jody is our executive director. She has taken on a lot of the sort of business, the running of the business of ARQ. ARQ now is, as you would think, with employees and officers and so on, we have a lot of business compliance to do, which is nothing to do with the Retirement Village Act. So Jody has taken on a lot of that, and she's also working at the Energies for Seniors project. So I might ask Jody to send all of you information about the Energy for Seniors project, which she runs, and we can come, Jody can connect with you and come to your village and talk to all of your residents about how to save energy, to make sure they're getting all the concessions for power that they need and so on. So a really informative session that she's doing on energy, and ARQ is working in conjunction with COTA on this particular energy project. So I'll get Jody to send you some information, so please contact her if you would like someone to come out to your village to give a presentation, and or if you would also like, we can also do it by webinar, a big webinar to all of your residents if you'd just like us to, you know, come in after a general meeting or something that you've had and just run a webinar on your large TV. So we'll get all of that sent out to you as well, so that you are really just aware of what is available. And I was surprised when I heard the COTA and the Energy for Seniors presentations. I wasn't aware of half the concessions that residents are entitled to. If you're in an embedded network, that's a little bit differently. Please, on your invitation or on when you RSVP, let Jody know that you're in an embedded network. An embedded network is when you haven't got your own energy provider, but your operator provides energy to you. So there's things we can still talk about with you on that, but there are certain things that are a bit different to an embedded network to your own energy provider. So we can certainly talk about those issues. And there are restrictions and things that legislate how the embedded network should operate as well. So we can certainly let you know about embedded networks. So please respond to Jody if you get that information sent to you in this new pack. Now I've really finished. Thank you all so much for coming. Ray, nothing?
Okay, so that's all I've got to say, except the people that want to ask a question, just stay behind. Thank you.